Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my Dark Knights. This is the Bat Brand, and welcome back to the NFL Weekly in Review. Week Review. Instead of meme review, it's Week Review. This is week 4. We did not do our week 3 review. I apologize for that. Uh, was busy. A lot of stuff came up and did not get a chance to do that, but we did get to do our preview for week 4. And we're going to review these games, look into some guys that did perform, some guys that didn't, and guys I'm worried about moving forward in fantasy football as well. Starting off with my team, the Bears, falling to the Colts. Their offense looked absolutely terrible in this game. Also, if you do enjoy these videos, please go ahead, hit that like button, and subscribe as well. Thank you guys so much for the support on all my series and the several people who have been subscribing. I really do appreciate that. We're 25 away from reaching our next goal, 200. I'm so excited to reach that goal, and it's all because of you guys that we're going to reach that goal. Moving on. Back to what I was talking about, the Colts offense looked almost just as bad, but really the Bears defense is a lot better than what we give them credit, and the same thing with the Colts. But the Bears offense, talk about that for a little bit, looked absolutely terrible. If you guys do not know, they swapped to Big Dick Nick, or AKA Tricky Nicky, AKA Nick Foles. And they went to him for the rest of the season and benched Mitchell Trubisky. Mitchell Trubisky should be sitting on this bench right now smiling because he's led them to an undefeated record. And they go to Nick Foles and a loss. I have a feeling they're going to be regretting this decision. Don't get me wrong, Mitchell Trubisky, as a Bears fan, for me, he's very up and down. He goes through drills where he doesn't do anything. But say what you will, but he has won games for us this year. He's undefeated, technically, this year, and he really didn't. Before he got benched, he really wasn't that bad. He really didn't turn the ball over too much. Granted, the offense didn't move, but the offense didn't move at all for the Bears in this game. It was absolutely dreadful. David Montgomery, who you would hope have a good game in this game, did not. The only guy who really did was Allen Robinson, but that was all in garbage time where he came up with 7 catches for 100 yards and a score. So he had a good game. And they get a quick turnaround. They got to play the Buccaneers in next Thursday Night Football. I'm a little nervous, but I think they're going to put up a better game against the Buccaneers than what most people think next week. I think Nick Foles, he's more of a veteran quarterback. I do think it's going to be another week where he struggles and Mitchell Trubisky is going to come in. He has to because the Buccaneers are another pretty good defense as well. And Tom Brady is not going to just let you... It's going to be a lower scoring game in that Buccaneers-Bears game because it's going to be a defense, 2 really good defenses, I think. But with scoring being up higher than ever, this was actually one of the lowest scoring games on the week, other than the other game I'm going to talk about later. But Colts-Bears... was pretty decent to watch if you liked watching defense. And speaking of defense, the Colts defense, much better than what most people give credit. They are technically, as the statistics, they are the number 1 defense in all of football. And against the pass, they're pretty decent. But against the run, they're number 1 in the NFL, shutting down Chicago to, as you see on the graphic there, only 28 yards rushing for the whole team. And They play Cleveland next week. I do believe. So, and they just lost Kareem Hunt. So, or not Kareem Hunt. They just lost Nick Chubb. So Kareem Hunt's going to get a lot of the work. And he's the only reason why I would start Nick Chubb next week, or not Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt next week, is because he's going to have work in the passing game, and he's going to, they're going to give him the ball. He's going to have options to do stuff, 100%. But the one guy that I'm really worried about on the Colts side is T.Y. Hilton. I'm worried about T.Y. Hilton. If you have him and you're an owner of TY, you're looking to get rid of him. You can see if someone will trade him. You can try and trade him. I would keep him. If not, you don't want to drop him. But I would look and see if you can get anything for this guy, because right now TY is not performing. And it looks like he's going to be one of the busts of fantasy this year. Another disappointing game for Jonathan Taylor. I'm kind of worried about Jonathan Taylor as well. Listen, he goes up against Cleveland next week, who just shut down Zeke for not a lot of rushing yards. And they're pretty good against the run, this Cleveland Browns defense that they're going up against. And then after that, the Colts do not have easy matchups coming forward for the running game. So I'm not too excited about Jonathan Taylor. He may just ride on my bench for the next couple weeks. But this Colts defense looking really good, guys. Really good. Moving on to, and by the way, I did choose the Bears to lose in that game. So 1-0 that so far this week. Broncos and Jets. That was a Thursday night game. I did choose the Broncos to win that game. I already talked somewhat in another video, my Week 4 preview, about how bad that game was. But Jamison Crowder, he's an option in fantasy that he looked really good. I didn't even want to start him, but because he was hurt with a hamstring and different stuff like that. But Noah Fant going down, that's a big loss for you guys if you have Noah Fant. So yeah, not looking good so far. But moving on to the games that I actually do want to talk about in more depth is the Vikings and the Texans. Texans lose this game, falling to 0-4. Vikings win. I chose the Texans to win this game, so that's on me. So I'm 2-1 at the moment for this week. And in other news, Bill O'Brien, GM, head coach of the Texans and GM for the Texans, he was doing double duty, was let go. And I think he was fired right a day after the game. And I think it's going to start a domino effect to some of these coaches that aren't doing very well this year. So some of these coaches may be on the hot seat. So like Adam Gase, if he loses one more game, I think he's gone. He'll be the next one. And if you're a Texans fan, you're very happy because this guy's been the bane of existence for your football team. And I mean, it all started when he traded DeAndre Hopkins for a washed-up running back in David Johnson. Like, it was a head-scratcher. And this is a team with a GM where a team that has no first-round pick, no second-round pick, because you for the next, I think no first-round pick for the next 2 years because you traded DeAndre Hopkins and several other players. And you got Laramie Tunsil, but you have no first-round, second-round picks for the next 2 years. I'm almost pretty sure. This is especially, and this team is 0-4. There's a lot of stuff they need to do to fix this team, and I think it's just going to get worse because J.J. Watt, from the rumors, he wants out. He wants to be a Chicago Bear. or he wants to go somewhere with his brothers. Like he wants to. There's a big rumors that he could be going to Chicago, and take less money, especially if Akeem Hicks does leave in the off season. If that happens, this Texans team could just dissolve into obscurity. To be honest with you, but the fantasy relevant players in this matchup. Well, Deshaun Jackson had a good game. But the other guy who had a pretty good game as well on the Texans side of the ball was Will Fuller. Listen, he's healthy right now. You have to play him every single week. I know I am. He gets the Jacksonville Jaguars next week, who, when they play, that's pretty. It's a pretty back and forth game. I do each defenses are exploitable. It's going to be another week where you can just fire him up. David Johnson, same thing. Especially now that that Bill O'Brien's gone, it's just up in the air with David Johnson, what he's going to do. But just see what he does this week against Jacksonville, and that's pretty much it. Brandon Cooks, if you have him, you can drop him. You can get rid of him. Randall Cobb, same thing. Right now, Will Fuller is the only wide receiver I really want on that team. Maybe if you're at a tight end need, Akins until that point game was having a good couple games, so he's a guy to look at. If you're in desperate need for a tight end, on the Vikings side, Dalvin Cook had another great game. He's looking really good. He's looking like a guy who could lead the league in rushing touchdowns. Justin Jefferson repeated his last week performance, and Captain Kirk Cousins had a good game as well. That offense is actually going to probably be their strong suit this year, which is weird. Normally it's their defense, but this year it looks like it's going to be their offense. And they finally get their first win, which is good. So, moving on to the Cardinals and Panthers, I chose the Cardinals to win this game. So right now we're looking 2-2. We're 500 at this moment in time, and Cardinals Panthers. Panthers led. This was. It says 31-21, but the Panthers led this game the whole way through. It was 31-7 at one point. It was bad for the Cardinals defense and the offense with Kenyon Drake. I'm very concerned with Kenyon Drake. He got hurt near the end of this game. Granted, he'll be okay. He just got the wind knocked out of him. But Chase Edmonds is a guy you should look at because Kenyon Drake looks like a guy, he could lose this job. He could lose this job to Chase Edmonds because they need to do something on offense. And Chase Edmonds is that spark plug right now that's looking pretty good. As well, and they may incorporate him more. Cliff Kingsbury could definitely do that. And DeAndre Hopkins, his volume is still there. He only had like 6 catches for like 40 yards, but he still had a good game. All in all, that's still good recipe for a good game. And him and Robert Woods are the two guys where you know they're going to get at least 6 or 7 catches. The only reason why I'm kind of shying away or worried about Robert Woods is because they play Washington, and Washington's pretty good against receivers. The other thing I will say as well is the offense isn't looking great in LA either because they really struggled against the Giants of all people, which is weird. But we'll talk about that later. On the Panthers side, Mike Davis. Mike Davis had a pretty good game. Teddy Bridgewater, 2 touchdowns throwing the ball, 1 running, 1 to Robbie Anderson, and 1 to Mike Davis. And listen, if you have Mike Davis, try to trade him now to the Christian McCaffrey owner. Or, yeah, or just try to trade him now for some kind of value because you got one more week. One more week, and Christian McCaffrey will 100% be back, and Mike Davis, who you threw in your lineup, is going to be gone. And you're going to need that production, so try and see if someone will take that trade and chase the points and say, this guy's been really good scoring the ball. I'll take it. I'll take it. And not think that, oh, Christian McCaffrey most likely will come back in a week, you know? So take that. Robbie Anderson, again, has been very consistent fantasy-wise as well. And Panthers play the Falcons next week, and you think that's a good matchup? Because that definitely is. Definitely 100% is. And the Cardinals will bounce back as well. Cardinals play the Jets. Jets. The Jets are terrible. They will beat the Jets. Next was the Bengals. Joe Burrow getting his first win ever as a quarterback for the Bengals, beating the Jaguars in dramatic fashion. This was actually a pretty good game to watch. I was watching this game on Sunday, and it was fun. It was very, very fun to watch. Two young quarterbacks. Gardner Minshew had a great day, even though he was playing behind from a lot. He plays the Texans next week, which he does pretty good against. I have, in my one league, I have him and Matt Ryan. With Matt Ryan doing as bad as he did on last night, on Monday night, I am starting Gardner Minshew over him. And I got to play the matchup because Gardner looks like a guy, even when he's behind, he's going to throw the football and he's going to put up good numbers for you. Other than that, it's just the only really bad game he had was the Dolphins game, but he did not have DJ Chark, and you could tell he needed Chark in this game because Chark, 2 touchdowns, 6 targets, 7 catches for 2 scores. He's back, baby. He's back, but is that target share going to continue? Is he going to get that every week? We will see. I am probably I'm up in the air with starting him next week with the matchup because I'm strictly matchups with my wideouts because I'm so especially I play it this way. If you have depth at wide receiver, you go by matchup. Really, who has a better matchup? I have Deontay Johnson. He's coming off of another 2 weeks off, basically, because they had a bye this week because of COVID reasons. And they move and play who do they play next week? I'm not entirely sure who they do, but he's good to go. He's a wide receiver 1 for Big Ben. And I also have Robert Woods, but obviously I'm starting Will Fuller and Terry McLaurin, because Terry McLaurin, even when, he did really good, which we'll talk about him later, but both those guys had really good games. I have to keep riding that hot hand because even in a bad matchup like Terry McLaurin had, he still performed and put up really good numbers. So I have to do that. But let me know what you guys think. DJ Chark, Robert Woods, or Deontay Johnson as my flex wide receiver 3. I also have Antonio Gibson. That is also an option, but I don't like throwing out too many players on the same team as well. So now, in this game, on the Bengals side, Joe Burrow had a good game, but the guy who really dominated, the guy, I talked about him last week. This had to be the week that he performed. Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is a guy, he finally had that breakout game. 2 scores running, 1 receiving. He looked good. He looks like the Joe Mixon of old now. Thing I'm really scared about with Joe Mixon. See if he can repeat that these next coming weeks, because he has the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Colts Those 3 games are going to be the outlier for Joe Mixon. If Joe Mixon has a bad game next week against Baltimore, I would just try and trade him now. I would just try to trade him now, and see if you can, because off that great game that he had, and see if you can get a really good running back, or see if you can get, say, Josh Jacobs, or uh, Derrick Henry, or even James Robinson. If you can get James Robinson, that that would be great, because James Robinson looks fantastic, because he's going to have some really tough matchups here. So, but you can sell high on him off of this matchup, but see what he does next week. Just see what he does next week. Moving on to the most exciting game of the week, the Browns and the Cowboys. The Browns absolutely dominated the Cowboys in this game, and the Cowboys, it seems like this is going to happen every single week for them. Granted, I don't think it happens next week. They play the Giants. Surely they should not get blown out in that game and forced to throw for 450 yards like Dak Prescott's had to do in almost every game this season. Surely, right? I hope not. But I chose the Cowboys to win this game, so we lost another one. We are 3-3 for the week. By the way, I chose the Bengals to win that last game. That you saw, that we talked about before. Now, I will say this. The Browns, that Cowboys defense looks absolutely terrible. I'm going to just tell you guys right now. And on the other side, the Browns defense looks very good against the run. Very good against the run. The only reason why you saw so many points put up on the Cowboys was their defense was exhausted. Their defense was exhausted going up against because I think they were up by so much, they just, go ahead. And did it get scary near the end of the game? The Cowboys came almost the whole way back. And if it wasn't for a Odell Beckham Jr. Run for a score, it would have been a completely different. It probably would have been another Cowboys dramatic comeback from behind win. From a high deficit, but for the second straight, or almost not second straight week, second time this season. But the Browns did not let that happen. Odell Beckham Jr. put him on his back and said, "No, I am ending this," and ended it. And you knew Odell was going to have a good game against the Cowboys, but you weren't expecting 2 scores catching and 1 running. He had almost 100 yards rushing and had over 100 yards receiving. A very, very good game from Odell Beckham Jr. And if you have Odell Beckham Jr., like I said, look to trade him. Look to trade him off this really high point total, because it isn't going to last. Like I said, it's not going to last, because the Browns do play the Colts next, and then they play the Steelers, and I'm pretty sure they play the Ravens again right after. So it's going to be really interesting. Along with the other guy I'm going to talk about as well, Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb going down. The reports are he's going to be out at least 6 weeks, maybe longer. This does not look good for the Browns. They are very strong running the ball. That is Kevin Stefanski's lifeblood. That's the way he runs this team. And they have run for 200 yards as a team in every single game. But I don't think that's going to stop. Kareem Hunt's going to get more of a workload going forward. And D'Ernest Johnson is also the guy who they are bringing in, and he had 95 yards rushing. He's a guy, if you're in a deeper league, you can look at or pick him up on a waiver wire. He's worth a look. Now, I talked about this in the beginning of the season. If Nick Chubb goes down, you have Kareem Hunt, who literally has the potential to be a top 5 running back, and here we are. Here we are. He is going to dominate because he's going to not just run the ball, but he's going to receive some catches as well now, and he's going to be a must start weekly for me, 100%. I mean, and it kind of works for me because I have Jonathan Taylor, who has disappointed, so I can afford to sit him on a bench and start Kareem Hunt and get the same production I would get out of a good game from Jonathan Taylor as well. So it works out. And Baker Mayfield had a meh game. He had a decent game. He did throw a touchdown to Austin Hooper. Other than that, Jarvis Landry threw a touchdown pass. He didn't catch one. Jarvis Landry is a guy, he's boomer bust, and which is shocking because last year he had such a good year, PPR wise, and he's a guy who I may be willing to drop. But just see what happens these next coming weeks with him. Now on the Cowboys side, Zeke, he was kept in check, but he had a good game still because he caught passes and stuff. Zeke's going to be Zeke. Zeke's going to put up an easy floor of at least 15 points every week. At least. That's his floor. He is the most consistent of the running backs, him and Kamara, I would say at this point in fantasy. And Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is, as it has been, those three guys have been really good for bang for your buck, especially if you draft it early in drafts. Now, Dak Prescott. I know he's not putting up video game numbers, but if he's throwing 400 up to 500 yards passing every single game, he's on pace to break the pass yards record by a lot. By a whole lot. Granted, that's not going to continue, but if this defense is as bad as it is, this offense is, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're happy. Because this offense is capable of putting up a lot, and I mean a lot of points this year. And if you're a fan of that, I will say this, I'm not a fan of the Cowboys. I have family members that are. Their games are very exciting. Very exciting to watch. As a football fan, they are the most exciting games to watch every week because they make it entertaining. They're like that wrestler, make a WWE reference, but they're that wrestler where you know that they're not favored, and they're most likely not going to win, but they're going to put on a really, really good match and a really, really good show for the match as well. And that's what really makes a good wrestler, if they're able to throw, basically make it look the match really good. I forget what they call it in the biz. But it'll probably come to me later. But the Cowboys side, CeeDee Lamb had a good game. He caught a touchdown. Amari Cooper had a good game as well. He another day with 10 catches for Amari Cooper. If they're going to keep being down in these games, like, Amari Cooper may have 10 catches every single game. Like, it could happen. I'm just saying. But the guy who I'm looking at, Dalton Schultz, which upsets me because it should have been Blake Jarwin, but Dalton Schultz is a guy, if you need a tight end, other than the guy I'm going to talk about later in the Packers game, he's the two tight ends that, if this one tight end wasn't going on a bye, then I'm going to talk about later, he's a guy that you definitely need to get if he's available in your waiver wire. Especially if you're like me and I lost Noah Fant, and I hope Dalton Schultz gets dropped because I need Dalton Schultz. I mean, I got Jimmy Graham, but I don't know. I was going to get Robert Tonyan, the guy from the Packers, but he's on bye next week. I can't get him. Moving on. to the Saints and Lions. These Lions were up 14 to nothing in this game to start out, and the Saints just scored repeatedly on them, and the Lions just let them. The Lions just let it happen. And another game where they lead by these points, and they just say, "Here you go, take them. You can lead us and beat us." And they let Kamara, Latavius Murray, and Drew Brees beat them. And it's a shame because they were looking good. Kenny G was catching the ball. DeAndre Swift scored a touchdown. Matthew Stafford looked good. And it's looking like Matthew Patricia could be on the hot seat to be fired if they keep losing these football games like this. And to be honest, I think it could be before their week. This is just a bold prediction, but I think Matt Patricia gets fired before week 7, especially if they keep losing. This is just my thought. It's just what I'm thinking, but I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. The Saints in this game, Traquan Smith caught a touchdown. Michael Thomas did not play in this game. He will be back next week from what people are saying. So that looks good for the Saints. Now on the Lions side, nothing really big to report. Just Kenny G having another great game, obviously, and Matthew Stafford looked pretty decent. And TJ Hawkinson scored a touchdown as well. So if you have TJ Hawkinson, that looks pretty good for you. The sad part, though, is they should have threw it to him more, especially after what the Packers did to the Saints last week with the tight end. Like, it was pathetic how bad they were just marching up and down the field on him with the tight end and with passes to the tight end, and Lions just didn't do it. I don't understand their logic, but the Saints did win that game. We chose the Saints to win that, so we did bounce back. I mean, we're 4-3 now with our picks, looking good. I did choose the Seahawks to beat the Dolphins and the Ravens to beat the Washington Football Team, so we're at least 6-3 for the week. So far, Seattle. Russell keeps cooking, baby. 31-23. Now, you watch this game in the first half. It did not look like it was gonna be a high-scoring affair like this. Because it was like 15-8 for a good while, and then in the second half, the points started coming. Chris Carson scored twice. The other thing, too, Russell Wilson had at least 2 or 3 touchdowns as well. The big shocker was Tyler Lockett with only 2 catches for 39 yards. That was very shocking for Tyler Lockett, but that was because DK Metcalf and David Moore did most of the work for them in this game. And you're going to have games like that even from the top receivers every once in a while. So that's okay. Now on the Dolphins side, Ryan Fitzpatrick really disappointed at first in this game. He did save it with 2 touchdowns later and putting up a lot of yards as well. But the guy who really did impress me was Davante Adams. Davante Adams had 10 catches for 110 yards and a score. He looks like the guy that is going to perform for them consistently each week because Preston Williams ain't going to do it, and pretty much any other receiver on this team isn't going to do it who's not named Mike Gesicki. So yeah, you don't want any Dolphins players. I mean, you can even drop Myles Gaskin at this point. He had good carries, but especially if you need to drop somebody to pick somebody up for waiver wire, Myles Gaskin could be the guy. I don't think anyone's going to really pick up Myles Gaskin. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on to the Ravens and the Washington Football Team. Ravens bounced back in a big way by getting how they got disappointed last week and utterly destroyed by the Chiefs. on defense. And the Ravens look good on defense yet again. Lamar Jackson threw the ball very well. He threw 2 scores to Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews looks like he may be back. We just need to see more consistency week by week. Ravens do play the Bengals next week, so it could be another one of those games where the Ravens will lead, be leading. And Lamar Jackson will have another good game. So Lamar also ran for a score in this game as well. He had a long 50-yard run, and he looked very, very fast. Now, all the running backs for the Ravens, again, they looked bad. J.K. Dobbins is not the backup that we thought. Gus Edwards looks like he's going to be the backup, but it was because Washington, good run defense. That's why I'm telling you, next week, if you're playing Washington, do not play your running backs because they will dominate them running the ball. Now, passing, that's another thing as well. Passing, you don't know. The Washington's defense is pretty decent. They haven't given up a receiver more than 68 yards all season. So that could be because they have faced when it comes to wideouts, but we'll see when they face the Rams next week. Washington, on Washington's side, Antonio Gibson. Finally, they threw the ball to this man, and I could not be happier. Dwayne Haskins actually had the best day out of all quarterbacks, yardage-wise, other than Dak Prescott. He actually had a good day. And Terry McLaurin also had a great game as well. He put up another great stat line for you. And he's a guy you need to start every week. He looks matchup proof. Terry McLaurin is. So Terry McLaurin is a guy who you will definitely start. Antonio Gibson, he had a good game as well. He's a guy, like I said, matchups, if you have depth, you can start him. If you're in a pinch, Antonio Gibson is a guy you can throw in. I just wouldn't start him next week with who they are playing. I think they... Actually, you know what? I think they play Cleveland next week. That's what it could be. I'm almost pretty sure Washington plays Cleveland or the Rams next week. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we'll cover that in our weekly preview come later in the week. But moving on to the Chargers and the Buccaneers. I did choose Buccaneers to win this game, but dear God, the Chargers made it interesting. If you are a Chargers fan and you see Justin Herbert out there, how can Justin Herbert not be your starter every week going forward? I know Anthony Lynn has said it's not, and I understand, it's not Tyrod Taylor's fault. He literally got stabbed in the lung by a doctor, but he doesn't deserve to lose the job, that's what I'm saying. Justin Herbert doesn't deserve, he has shown that he deserves this job. He looks really good. Any other rookie quarterback be scared to throw against this Buccaneers defense, and he did not. He was not scared at all. He threw the ball to Keenan Allen consecutively really well. He threw a lot to undrafted free agents. He threw 2 touchdowns to 3 actually to undrafted free agents, and looked pretty good actually. So. Justin Herbert, he could be a stream starter as long as Tyrod's not playing. So he's a guy, per matchup, he's a guy I would look at. Now, the other thing I do want to talk about on the Chargers side before we get to the Buccaneers is Austin Eckler. He went down with a severe hamstring injury. It was called a grade 2 hamstring injury. he is out for several weeks. They're saying 6 to 8 weeks, maybe longer. This is big news. Especially you drafted this guy very high, hopefully. And PPR, he was doing very, very good, especially full point PPR with uh, Justin Herbert. With him going down, Justin Jackson is going to probably take that role. He's a guy, waiver wires this week. If Justin Jackson is available or Joshua Kelly, I'd go pick either one of those two up to just see what they will give you. But yeah, especially Joshua Kelly. Joshua Kelly is going to be a guy that will get carries in that offense for sure. But how much is he won't get passing stuff. So Justin Jackson could be more valuable. We don't know that yet. We will see after this game. Now, on the Buccaneers side, Tom Brady. Threw 5 passing touchdowns the first time in a good while. It's on the graphic, it does says first time in a game since week 3, 2017. This makes me a little scared because he plays my Bears on Thursday night, and I know what he has done to my Chicago Bears in the past. I don't like Tom Brady against my Chicago Bears, is what I'm saying, but because I'll never forget the move where he literally juked out Brian Urlacher and embarrassed him. Absolutely embarrassed him. I'll never forget that. But Tom Brady did have a good day, and he threw 5 touchdown passes, 1 to Keyshawn Vaughn, which he's a guy who I would look for a waiver wire pickup, especially because LaShawn McCoy, he got injured. Leonard Fournette, he is injured. We don't know the severity of that just yet. And Ronald Jones is Ronald Jones. He looked meh. So really the only 2 running backs are Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn. So, Keyshawn Vaughn is worth a waiver wire pickup, 100%. And O.J. Howard also went down in this game. He's done for the year. So, Rob Gronkowski and Cameron Brate are the only 2 tight ends left. Gronk, I hate to say it, but Gronk is worth a look at tight end if he's available in your league. Because there's no... O.J. Howard was the main guy to take targets away from him. And that ain't going to happen now. So... And Mike Evans. But the guy who did really do good is Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller, he's had a pretty good season so far. He's a guy, if he is available, he just had that 1 down week. But if he would have caught that 1 touchdown, he would have had a really good week, you know? But that's worth a look. Moving on to probably the worst game I've ever seen, with the Rams and Giants. Did choose the Rams to win this, but I thought it was going to be a lot higher of a game score for the Rams. They looked terrible, running the ball, throwing the ball. The only guy who had a decent game was Robert Woods with 6 catches for 35, but which PPR, that's pretty decent, but that's not something that you look forward for every single week from him. It's that whole game was just terrible. Now, Giants do play. Darius Slayton is an interesting name who I would look at because Golden Tate may definitely be suspended, and Jalen Ramsey, because they got into a fight after the game. We don't know if they're both going to be suspended from it or not. I would say they should. If not, a hefty fine, but I think both of them should be suspended for that fight. So they will probably both not be playing. So the Darius Slayton may be the only guy. And who do the Giants play next week? I wonder. The Cowboys. Oh yeah, and how bad is their Cowboy? How bad is the Cowboys defense? Oh, really bad. Oh, are they giving up like 30 points a game? Oh yeah, they are. Okay, yeah, I think Darius Slayton gets some touchdowns in this game. Just saying. Just saying. Daniel Jones is also a sneaky start next week as well. He, especially as a streaming option, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but and also the Cowboys defense is a sneaky start, especially if the Giants are as bad as this against the Rams. God help them. That game next week could literally be. That could be interesting. Very, very interesting. And the Bills and Raiders is the next game we'll talk about. Much better game than the other one. Um, I did choose the Bills to win this game against the Raiders. So we're 8-3 on the week, looking pretty good. I did not guess the next game right, so we're 8-4, which we'll talk about here shortly. But the Bills and Raiders, Bills led this game almost the whole game. They are 4-0, which looks like they're going to win that AFC East. First time the Patriots will probably not be winning it in a long time. And we'll talk about them later. But the fantasy relevant players that were really good in this game. Josh Allen had another great game. You love to see it from Josh Allen. He is one of the top quarterbacks. He's a quarterback I'm targeting in all my leagues. I just want that quarterback so bad. He's just looking really good. He could be possible MVP, possibly. On the really just other than that, on the Bills side, there really wasn't too big of a guy that like really want to talk about. On the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs had a meh game. This is the second straight week that he's had a meh game, and but he plays the Chiefs next week. And the Chiefs just gave up over 100 yards to Damian Harris, who just got signed off the practice squad. Yeah, I think he'll be okay next week. Josh Jacobson. The thing that really looks good for Josh Jacobs is he's getting at least 3 or 4 catches each game. And if he does that at least every game on top of the volume that he's getting, Josh Jacobs is going to be really, really good. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in that game. Moving on to the Eagles and the Niners. Eagles won this game somehow off the Niners. Don't know how it happened. Their defense actually did pretty decent against Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins was pretty shaky if he wasn't throwing it to George Kittle 15 times. George Kittle had 15 catches for 183 yards and a score. He's back. He's back, and he proved it in a big way last night. Or not last night, on Sunday night. And Deebo Samuel is also back. If he's available in your league, he's a guy that you can go pick up. Now, I want to start him because he didn't really do much. He has to show that more to me, to be honest, that he's 100%. And Brandon Ayuk is also looks like he's going to be the Deebo Samuel this year, at least for now, until Deebo's 100%. So don't jump that gun just yet. Wait and see what Brandon Ayuk does next week and Deebo before you decide to start either one of those. Well, Brandon Ayuk, I would continue to start if you're desperate and don't have wide receiver depth at the moment. He's a guy I would start. Now, moving on to the game that got pushed back because of COVID, because Cam Newton did get COVID, was the Chiefs and the Patriots. Chiefs winning this game. I did choose the Chiefs to win this game. So we're 9-4 on the week. The Chiefs. This game was very weird. First half flew by. Absolutely flew by. In this game, and I believe it was 6-3 at the end of the first half. It was dreadful, and but the Chiefs did turn it around in the second half. Patrick Mahomes threw 2 touchdown passes. He did throw one to Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman looks like a guy. He has taken Demarcus Robinson's job. It looks like he is going to be a weekly starter at the slot for them. And he looks like he's a guy you can throw in your lineup every week, especially if he keeps up with this touchdown production. And Travis Kelce had a good game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was, he was okay. He does play the Raiders next week, so he'll be fine. And the Patriots side, yeah, we're not going to talk about the quarterbacks at all. Yeah, they missed Cam Newton, and they're probably going to miss him next week because with the COVID stuff, and my camera is messed up. One sec. There we go. Okay. Yeah, with the COVID stuff, they're not allowing him back until he has 10 days of clear, no symptoms. So that with that timetable, he won't come back until next week. So he will not be back most likely for their next game. So that does not bode well for the Patriots. It looks like they're going to lose possibly yet again. But the other guy who does look good, the only guy that I really was interested in, was Damien Harris. They hyped him up in the training camp. They said that he looks like the best running back in all camp. He looks like a guy who could be your starter. Sony Michel being down, Damien Harris looks like a guy who could be a 3-down back for them, and I'm okay with that. I think that he's worth the waiver wire pickup just to throw on your bench. Just to throw on your bench, see what he does moving forward. And if he performs, you could have a guy that has a really good line and just goes off like BenJarvus, Green Ellis. I was trying to think about so many great running backs that just for those Patriots that just come out of nowhere. And just there's the list goes on and on. But there's really no one else on this Patriots offense I'm interested in. Moving on to the final game, the Falcons and the Packers. It was kind of a head scratcher for the Falcons because you thought this game was going to be a shootout, and it wasn't. Like, the Packers dominated them, which was weird because no Davante Adams for the Packers, no Allen Lazard. MVS looked like garbage. Robert Tonyan for 3 scores? What? Like, this is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers could throw touchdowns to people walking on the street, and it doesn't matter. It's because he is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play, and he shows that every week, obviously. So, on the Packers side, I did choose the Falcons to win this game as my upset. So I was wrong. So 8-5, not a good week for me pick wise, but that's fine. Packers, really, other than that, you're not really excited for anybody because they're on buys. So, but if you have a deeper bench, Robert Tonyan as a tight end, he had 3 touchdowns, and with no Allen Lazard and MVS sucking as much as he is, but Aaron Rodgers does like throwing in the tight end, so Tonyan is an option. Now on the Falcons side, I'm very, very concerned. Matt Ryan did not put up a lot of yards in this game, and he should have. And the reason being, I mean, Gurley had a good game. Gurley scored 2 touchdowns, but you still need to get rid of Gurley. The only reason why he scored 2 touchdowns is because of opportunity, and you just need to trade him. You just need to trade him and get rid of him. Because they're going to be down in a lot of games, and he just is not going to perform for you. He's not every week like this. And now, Matt Ryan, he did not have a great game, and I needed him to in my league that I commissioned, and he let me down. I was really hoping I needed at least 4 or 5 touchdowns from him, and he gave me a total of Zero. A total of zero. And oh no, Calvin Ridley, number one wide receiver. He got Julio back. Surely he'd throw one of them, right? Well, Julio re-aggravated his hamstring injury. He's out, probably going to be done for at least several more weeks. If you have Julio, try to trade him just because of the name. I very worried with Julio at this point, and he was dealing with it at the beginning of the year. He's dealing with it still now, and he aggravated it. I'm just so nervous with Julio, and he's my number one receiver in one of my leagues, and I did make a trade to get Allen Robinson and Miles Sanders, like I was saying, but I'm stacked at running back 100% with Kareem Hunt, Jonathan Taylor, Miles Sanders, and Zeke. But with Julio not performing the same way, Russell Gage is very interesting. I will say that moving forward. Because Russell Gage is going to get passes with no Julio for this foreseeable future. And Calvin really putting up a goose egg. Who would have saw that coming? Uh, Calvin Ridley normally performs in these games, and Calvin Ridley did nothing. And Julio had like 4 catches for 30. Hayden Hurst did not look good, and you thought he would. And really, from this offense, Russell Gage is the only guy that I really want. I'm still wanting Calvin Ridley, but it was just probably a one-off thing. But I'm just concerned with the Falcons. Just concerned with them. But that is actually the week 4 preview or week 4 review in the books. I am just going to take a sneak peek at week 5 and see if I was definitely right. But if you guys did enjoy this, please feel free to take a look at my other weekend reviews, week previews, my other videos. I greatly appreciate that. But thank you all so much for watching. If you're new and you want to see more as well, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Here, let me just take a looky-see here. Okay, so it's the Rams. They play the Redskins, or not the Redskins. I'm sorry. The Washington football team play the Rams, and the Colts play the Browns. That's right. Okay. So, thank you guys. I will see you all in the next one. Stay awesome.